Blood Incantation, Timewave Zero album review. Let's chat about it. Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. Here tonight to chat about this latest album from Blood Incantation, Denver-based metal act. They have become modern faves in their genres of death metal, more along the lines of progressive death metal, even psychedelic death metal over the last couple of years, and it's not really that hard to see why. Their approach to the genre is actually genuinely progressive, which is something that I can't always say. They've been turning heads since 2016 Starspawn. I mean, I wasn't that into it personally. I mean, it certainly had some great moments like Hidden Species, but for me, I thought the band was still searching for their sound. But with 2019's Hidden History of the Human Race, they instantly took off, and it's not really hard to see why a lot of people loved this album. I loved it too. It's not perfect, and yes, it's certainly memeable. The memes are pretty awesome. But I was shocked to see just how many genuinely fresh ideas that showed up on this album that were really pushing metal forward. It just showed that Blood Incantation was a band that showed a whole lot more than meets the eye. I personally loved the track Inner Paths. I thought it was just the right blend of progressive and weird and just a really interesting track. Leads me to this new album, Timewave Zero. Now, months ago, they announced this album and announced it as a dark ambient album, a space ambient album, if you will, which caught me off guard, mostly because just it sounded like it was going to be a complete departure for the band. And as this album release kind of crept up, their lack of singles or any tracks from the album whatsoever kind of led me to believe that we were going to be dealing with something completely different than where the band had been in the past. And yeah, it is. This album is broken up into 2 songs with 4 movements each. The first one up is Io, and honestly, right off the bat, we are so far away from Kansas, it's not even funny. Leading up to this album, we knew that synths were going to be in play, we knew that they was going for a space ambient album, and yeah, that's what we get here. Much like Wolves in the Throne Room did many years ago with their album Celestite, this is the hardest of left turns. And I have a lot of really mixed feelings on it. As a matter of fact, I have a lot of mixed feelings on this entire album. The first movement of this track, EO, is just not that promising. It doesn't give me a lot of hope either, and not the sort of like cool, like no hope in sight metal way either. No, it just doesn't give me a lot of excitement for the rest of this album. Is there an atmosphere? Yeah. Is there doom aplenty? Yeah, sure. But there also really isn't a lot of genuinely progressive ideas here. I mean, truthfully, when things, start to add up in the second movement, things do improve a little bit. Like, I do get what Blood Incantation was going for with this sound and this album, but I feel like this is so bare basics. I mean, hell, in the third act of EO, things get a little heavier even, but it's still not that exciting. And you know what? I'm going to give this to Blood Incantation. There are moments on this track that, like they'll hit like a certain note or a certain vibe and I'll stop and say, yeah, that's cool. It's not that they don't have good ideas. It's just that I don't think that they're compiling them in the right way. This track really doesn't seem to go anywhere, even though it takes 20 minutes. However, I will say this. I do really love the fourth act of EO. I think it's the best part of it. Here, we get some genuine emotion within the synths, which is something I did not expect. It's a lot more lonely sounding. It's a lot more tragic. This sounds like it would soundtrack like, I don't know, the final battle scene of a space war movie where thousands of humans were killed. And that's where I expected to hear most of this album. I will say this, though. Ia, as a second track here, I think is a lot better. I think it has a lot going for it. This is infinitely more interesting right from the intro notes. Yes, the actually progressive synth work on this track is a nice start, but it doesn't just stop there. No, this track is actually, full of drama, full of mystery and some turns. It just seems to me to be a lot more visual. A lot of this album, I just wish it had some visualization to it. Like, I feel like it's missing something. Like, if you put this album, I don't know, up against 40 minutes of new footage from the Dead Space remake, I probably would have ate it up. But yeah, call me crazy. There's actually some moments in this second track that I can actually get lost in. The second movement brings in the sort of hazy psychedelics from their last album, which I actually really love. I could really just tune out to this, and by the time the third movement comes along, there's some genuine tension on this track. Hell, there is some beautiful moments as well. Not for nothing, this second track, is actually really textured, really beautiful, and really detailed. Like, if this was a stepping stone in a much bigger, heavier album, I think that they would be onto something. But then we get the fourth movement, the finale to this album, and it just blows right by and doesn't stop me in my tracks at all. It's fine. It's certainly not bad. But I kind of want a conclusion, and this isn't it. This just seems to be more of the same until it just fizzles out. This album it's a left turn for sure. I mean, leading up to it, I knew we were getting that. A left turn, a weird new album from one of metal's finest. This is a straight up space ambient and dark ambient album, and I will give them props where props are due. There are some good ideas on here. When things are actually going well, there's some genuine drama. It's very visual at times, but I feel like it's missing something. And I know I'm not being sarcastic and saying like, oh, it's missing a plot or it's missing direction or a good production or anything like that. No, I genuinely feel like it needs like a visualization. If there is one, I'm missing it, and I'm sorry for that. But as far as the music goes, I feel like they took too big of a leap, much like Death Heaven did last year. I feel like a lot of these moments are actually pretty interesting, but they need a little bit more structure around it. Like if Blood Incantation came out with a heavier, headier album and used these as interludes, I think they'd be onto something really fantastic. But for now, I think this album is messy and just very average. I'm feeling a decent 6 on this album. Let me know what you guys think down below. If you liked the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.